Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you in whatever part of the world you are in. I am live from my mom's attic. We're going to try something new here today. Yeah. I'm being silly. We're going to try something new here today. Hello, Wendell. He's called me sexy, so it's got me started. All right, so there is my good friend Ross, and I think, let's see, can anybody in the chat hear Ross? Ross, speak up. Let's hear you. Hey there. We're going to try this a little different today. Yesterday we had... Okay, well, and you... Yeah, we're trying because, well... I had to turn the audio down because my song was like incredibly loud. Chris says I'm bringing sexy back. Chris Wendell, can you hear Ross, by the way? So, no. Well, apparently they can't hear you. And I don't understand why. Cannot. And I don't understand why. So, they say they can't hear you. And they say they got no sound from you. So you're only giving sign language. I don't understand why. You're an Edge now. So you should be coming up on the thing. The voice meter. Yeah, I use voice meter. I'm looking at it right now and it's showing you're going out. Yep. Hold on. Maybe that's it. Talk now.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Wendell, can you hear me?
Let's see. You should. All right. So maybe I didn't have B2 checked because you were definitely on B2. So, all right.
Okay.
So,
well, where is the frequency of the platform that you're streaming on? B1 or 3?
It's B2. It's Edge right there. It's on my screen. It's
okay.
Edge right there. Okay. Chris says sound is now good. Okay. Good deal. Okay. So I just didn't have B2 checked. Okay. Good deal.
Yep.
All right. Let me bring you back up so they can see your ugly mug. So
there will be some times where you'll have to uncheck its own channel because there will be some platforms that will cause a loop. It's unfortunately not consistent.
Yes, but, you're absolutely correct. When I do that's why I have it turned off, because when I do it on the Thin Line Rock Station, I am recording on one channel and transmitting on another, and it causes a loop no matter what I do. So yes, you're absolutely correct.
I had 2 audio channels on OBS before, and I was trying to create clips for Mastiff Media Magazine, and I was hearing it twice. I'm like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
And one of the 2 channels was hidden and active. So that was fun to find.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we got you. We got it figured out now. So Chris says hello. Well, Wendell says hello. So,
hey guys, if we are not at war in a civil war
with each other,
country.
Oh,
if we're not at war globally in a version of World War III, I promise you by next week, Stephen Poplar and I will have a media war.
Yep. I'm gonna go out in the yard and I'm gonna create a meme of me just going.
Do I see? I can't see you because your camera is on your broadcast and not mine.
Yeah.
I wonder if I brought up your YouTube channel.
Probably.
And muted it, how much of the delay would there be?
I don't know.
From what we're saying and what we're hearing here on our audio system.
I have no idea.
Compared to...
I can't do that. Okay.
Just make sure this is muted before it comes up.
I have no idea. I heard myself.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, it's. I see me there. Let me see here.
Kind of ugly. When Chris says consider yourself lucky you don't see him. I do have a face for radio, so
yeah. Me too. My mom told me that.
Yeah, well, we must have similar parents.
So now I would say, oh wait, maybe that's me. Let me do that. There we go.
Now they said they couldn't hear you. Okay, now they got you.
So I don't know if you're seeing it better on your end now.
I'm delayed, but I can see myself. Yeah.
Yeah. But your screen is equal to mine. We still have your screen in your screen. Only people in video are getting that commentary.
Yeah. Wendell says stop pushing buttons. So.
Yeah, exactly. I need to push some buttons that are labeled off.
No. So tell us, the Popular Report is a show that goes out several times a day, and Steve Popular is an accountant by trade.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
I addressed that too. I addressed that, and that he needs to stay in his wheelhouse, essentially.
Well, yeah. So, and he says that today on his show, I listened to his early show, and he said that he listens to other shows so that he can get information. And that's no secret. We all steal from each other. Come on. So, sure. I mean, it's, it's like if Fox has the story, NBC has the story. So,
and that's why that's the thing in journalism now, is to credit whatever other network you're getting the information from. And that's your safety net.
Sure. So
that when you're wrong, it ain't your fault.
Yeah. That's why I always show what I'm reading from. So yeah, absolutely.
But I still think that's bullshit, because it is still our job as independent journalists to show some level of fact checking. Like, for example, we led today's show with Shane Wiggins.
Don't know him.
Shane Wiggins is a minister from Louisiana who was busted for I'm trying to get the it's time for lunch. Was busted for having sex with a minor. And I got this from a Facebook post, which I was not going to rely on.
Nope. I don't rely on Facebook posts either.
But when I did this Google search and clicked the news tab, all these different agencies came up with the same story.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. There's some level to it. We can at least report on what's there.
Yep. Like Warnock. He got $1 million home from a church. Why?
Yep.
Why? He has $1 million home in Atlanta, and then he has a $2 million home in Washington, D.C. But yet he's a senator making like 100 and some thousand.
Is that the minister congressman?
Yes, from Georgia.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
He's an asshat. So, but yeah, and I can say that because I said that. No, I said that. I'll take credit.
Asshat, that's mine.
No. It's I stole it from somebody else, not you. So
I stole it from somebody else too. Well, I didn't think of it.
Oh, but yeah, he
a shout out to what's his name? I can picture him, and I remember his porn name.
Whoa. We went to porn already?
I can't remember his real name.
You talking about Ron Jeremy?
No, oh. God, no. This beautiful bodybuilder who was named Caesar.
Oh, well, got me.
Straight, married to a woman, has a kid who's also gorgeous. I can't think of it for the life of me what the hell his name is now. But he's the guy that I stole the name Asshat from.
Hey, by the way, did you listen to my show last night?
No, I was on a show last night.
Okay. Well, it was I am one phone call away from David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson. One phone call away.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I have finally gotten to that level. So we had a guest on.
Actually getting them on?
Well, he's his PR guy, so I'm going to email you off the show. And he came on for a totally unrelated thing, and he just started talking. He's like, "Oh yeah, I've been a big fan of this. I started back." He was writing stories for, you'll remember this, Leisure Suit Larry, the video game. That's an old, I won't call it a porn game, but for lack of better words, it's what it was at the time. And I mean, it was like in pixels, and he wrote stories for him, but they found out that he was 15. So yeah, so the guy, he said finally when somebody gave him a certificate when he was 18, he was old enough to tell stories for Leisure Suit Larry, and he's like, yeah, I started there, and I've always been into it. I interned at I can't remember the name of the media company, but they owned Fox Broadcasting at the time. And he's like, yeah, he said, the first time I really had any electronic, I knew I was there, big conversations. I got onto a joint call with David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson, and I was I was going to be their PR agent. And he goes, that's when I realized I really do love this stuff. I love the paranormal. And I'm like, no, hold on, wait a minute. I'm sitting there going, no, hold on, wait a minute. You just said what? And he's like, yeah, it's no big deal. And I'm like,
well, so then, wait a minute. What were you, if it wasn't for the paranormal and this was Wednesday night show, what were you talking to him about?
Well, it was paranormal, but he was I don't know if he's a co-writer, but he's definitely, that's right. He's the editor for Taki Somo's Alienated series that just hit the stands last Tuesday, #1 comic issue. And he was her editor. And so he was just kind of BSing about how he got into the paranormal. And I'm like, whoa, wait, what?
Yeah. So we're not close. And I hope he doesn't hear me say that, but I'm being honest. I am friends with, I told you, Grand Canyon National Park. Dozen eggs, $11.29.
Well, don't fly to the Grand National. Don't fly out there and buy any.
And,
and yes, Chris, by the way, he sent me an email and said he was stealing that he is now going to use that as his tagline. He's the paranormal Forrest Gump. No, he was coming up with all these stories, and Chris in my chat said, wait a minute, you're just stumbling through this like Forrest Gump. You're denying all this paranormal activity around you. And he loved it. He goes, wait a minute, can I steal that? And I was like, yeah, sure. Just give Chris credit for it.
I am in my friends here. I'm looking for.
You're absolutely correct, Wendell.
Yep, there he is.
And Wendell wants you to watch his show, so his podcast.
I am friends. I usually actually do watch or listen to you while making lunch, but I've realized my blood pressure is probably going to stay at a better level if I don't listen to all of your news stories.
At least you didn't say tossing your salad, but go ahead. So.
Yeah. But I am friends with, I don't know if this is letting you. No. Okay.
Yeah, it's not very clear.
Fred Schneider is the lead singer, one of the lead singers. He and the ladies are the singers for the B-52s.
I need you to send a message and see if he wants to do a paranormal show. So,
do you know if he's a paranormal guy?
Everybody has a ghost story or a Bigfoot story or some kind of story that scares them. That was the thing last night when Mark was saying, I don't really have any. Before we went on live, he says, I don't really have any because I got this weird sleep paralysis thing. And then he went into it in such great detail and depth. I'm sitting there going,
it's an abduction.
Yeah, dude, seriously. I don't want to traumatize you, but yeah.
Or not necessarily that though. What's the other one? The sleep paralysis is also one of the ghosts do that too.
Poltergeist.
Is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah, I believe so. Well, Bigfoot can do it as well.
They hit you in your dreams, and it's a sleep paralysis, and I don't know. I think it's like one of the shadow things, though, because I remember some of the stories. There's this black cloud that floats over top of you while you're sleeping.
Okay.
But I got to look into it. I'll see if I can.
Okay.
Have it to you for tomorrow's handoff.
Sounds good. But yeah, it was great. Yeah, go back and listen to it. That show won't get your blood pressure up. So
yeah. So I got a message into Freddie, see if he's, and the thing is, we're on in Las Vegas, and he's at the Venetian right now. They are at the Venetian right now, the B-52s. So
I'm live in Las Vegas right now.
No,
Oh.
we're not on Thursdays,
Okay.
and it's only the first hour.
Ah,
It's only 8 a.m. their time to 9 a.m.
I gotcha. All
So
right.
our next jump is to try to get the Thursday first hour, and then we'll at least be 5 days a week, and then we'll work on kicking other shows out to get the second hour
Okay.
and be on all 10 hours a week like we are on most of our other stations now.
Sweet. I'm just
not going to
riding your coattails
on until I've got funding to buy them, to buy the time.
Yeah.
And also only if we can get all 10 hours a week, because this having to stop at the end of the first hour to say, hey, switch over to this channel or that channel or whatever, to steal listeners away from that station. I don't want to do that either, but I want them to be able to continue to listen to what they're listening to.
Absolutely.
If you make it that long into the show, you got an interest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can turn off my clocks now because I'm done for the day.
All right. Well, tell all your people they need to come over and find me on the Para
let me do that.
Guys.
Put your thing up on the. Are you still using the Para or Normal tag for what's its nuts for YouTube? Para or Normal Guys.
Yeah, I'm still using it. I haven't changed. I figure I'm not going to make any major changes till I get back in Atlanta, where if something goes wrong, I feel more in my comfort zone. So, because right now I feel like I'm operating on a shoestring and a Band-Aid. So.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's Cameron. It's we were talking about my porn buddy that I stole the name Asshat. His name is Caesar, and it's Cameron Mitchell, I think is what his real name is. Okay. Beautiful. Oh,
don't know him, but okay.
And Ken sees shadow people.
Hey, well then Ken, you would like my show. So.
Yep. Wednesdays at what, 8 or 9?
9 to 11.
9. New York's Radio, and on right there. You said you still do use Para or Normal Guys, or did you change that yet?
No, it's still Para or Normal Guys. I'm going to change it probably to the Sportcat shows or something like that when I get home. But I said, I want to make sure I'm at the big computer. I got the whole setup, and if something goes nuts, I won't feel.
Are you still using Nightlight Studios or whatever that was? If I'm getting it right.
Yeah, that's going to be my wife's LLC. Yes. So.
Okay.
I'm not going to own anything.
Yeah, that's a good way to go.
It's a long story.
Can't touch you.
Yeah, until she divorces me, and then I'll be like, damn it.
Yeah, I know what that's for. It's a smart move.
Yeah, and I might even put her on the condo. I don't know. We'll see. So.
Yeah.
I still want to buy that condo. That's another story.
I heard you say you're going up into the Panhandle now. You're not coming down by me.
Well, I can't find what I want down by you cheap enough. So, and I don't want a full-time house. So that's these realtors keep messaging me, and they're like, "Oh, well, it's got a nice yard." This, I'm like, no, people can break into that shit. I want a high-rise condo where I can put a camera in it and call 911 if somebody busts the door, but you got to have a key to get in the building and blah blah blah. So,
right.
Yeah. So, and I don't need. I keep thinking about it, and I'm killing my showtime, but I keep thinking about it. I don't need a huge place. I'm not going to be there full time. So a small place is just a studio apartment like thing is good. So it gets me to the beach, gets me if I want to get away from everything and everybody, and I'll set up a studio down there, of course. So yeah, it's just a thought though. I haven't committed 100%. I haven't uncommitted 100%. I'm like 60-40. Right. The wife is like 90-10.
That's enough to be deported to another country.
So, well, yeah, probably. I don't know. I'll have to look and see what my green card says. I think it says weirdo. I don't think it says alien. So
nice.
We're all aliens.
All right, I gotta make some lunch. I'm hungry.
All right, man. Don't listen. I might have something that offends you. I don't think I do. Well, there's a flagpole story. So.
Oh, yay. Is this one where they grease it and then they got to try to climb to the top?
No, our president is putting up 2 brand new flagpoles on the White House lawns. And I'm actually for it because he says the old ones need to be replaced and he wants to put in bigger ones with stones around them and lighting and make it. I don't know exactly where they are on the grounds, but apparently they've been there for a while and it's time to kind of change them. So he's going to put a bigger, more robust one up with stones around it and lighting on it 24/7. And I don't know if they'll have like somebody come out and raise the flag. There's no flags on the ground. They're on the roof, correct? You might be right, Chris.
I think there's one over by the West Wing.
Okay.
That nobody ever really sees.
And that was what he was saying. He's like, it's just here. They weed eat around it. It's not. And so he's going to put up one. And he wants to go larger. So he's already seen how high he can go on the White House lawns. It's kind of fun. It's a funny story because he's like, well, hell, I want it to as high as I can get it. And I'm like, hell yeah. So so he's probably gonna piss some people off, and he's not using our tax-paying dollars. He's paying for it himself, so I'm good with it. I have nothing against a flagpole.
But I mean, that's any renovations to the White House. There's an actual budget for that.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want people saying he's coming in and doing things over the top and costing us money, and I'm okay with that. And if he wants to spend his own money,
having just a normal flagpole. I got to side with him on this.
It's going to be a big, beautiful, tall, perfect flagpole, whatever the hell that means. But it's going to be a nice flagpole. So Chris says many people are saying they've never seen a flagpole like this before.
yeah, that's his.
Oh, I love it.
It's going to be huge.
But I'm all for it. He wants to put one so you can see it from. Now, it's been a while since I've been there, from both the front and back. So he's going to put one on like the front side and one on the back side, or maybe one on each corner. I'm not sure how that goes, but he says you can't see the flagpole there now, and you definitely can't see it from the other side. So he's going to put one on each side.
One on the roof.
But he's going to put up a big, beautiful, perfect one like many people have never seen before. So,
and you know what's going to happen?
The next guy's going to come in with a chainsaw and cut it down. So.
Thank you.
Because they all do. They all change their stuff around. I don't know about. Well, no, they do change the yard because I think they had a swimming pool at one point. They had a horseshoe pit, so they all change things. So yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that I won't say the only thing, but the most historic thing,
the rose garden.
That Melania gutted.
Well, it's still there. It's just different, right? I don't know the story on this, so don't get me.
I don't know for sure. I heard she got rid of the whole thing.
No,
and none of those that the Bidens put in are from the original Rose Garden.
No, that's not true, because I just saw a White House documentary on that. They were talking. It was the horticulturists, because they actually had to cut down a tree that Andrew Jackson planted because it was rotting. And what they had done, I actually saw this. They had taken, and I don't know how they do it, but they had taken a section of the tree because they knew it was going to happen sooner or later, and they actually got like a baby from that tree. And when they take that one down, they're going to put in one that was from it. So they somehow, what's the word, where they splice it together and they grow. But at any rate, so it'll still be there.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were talking about the roses. They said the original ones were there since Jackie O, but they've been, I don't want to use that decorated different, like they put different, maybe like a Gazette. I don't know. But they're still there. They're physically there.
Right.
So,
okay.
But he even commented on that. He said he'd like to see like a waterfall out near the rose gardens. That might be kind of peaceful. But let me ask you this:
Trump does or who?
Trump does. He'd like to see like a stone with it lit up and like maybe a fire pit or something and a water. He called it a water garden, maybe. I don't remember his exact word. But now, if you're out in there, can you be seen from the public?
Yes. The fence, there's the unsecure area of the White House grounds that are outside the fence. I forget what the post numbers are called anymore. but the only one I remember is called Charlie 17. As you look at the White House from the south and look at the south entrance, there's the 3 black doors on the very ground level of the White House. The center door, very smack in the middle of the mansion, is where the president and the first lady go in and out when they're leaving from the mansion. Sometimes the first lady will depart from the east wing where her office is. But other than that, and that's where her motorcade usually stages. But the main arrival departure area is actually outside.
Okay.
There is no garage there. There's other places where they could do it, but yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm good with that. But so you can be seen from the Rose Garden. Okay.
Yes, and in fact, when any of the first family is outside, there's a different presence than when they're inside the mansion.
So if he was to sit outside and enjoy a beer in the Rose Garden with his feet up, there'd have to be a different.
Yep.
So it would be a big deal then.
Even the balconies are alarmed. So if he even as much as opens that back door, there's going to be an alarm. It's going to activate a camera. They're going to watch him go out onto the balcony. I think it's the one at the mansion is called the Roosevelt balcony. And they'll know that he's outside. Okay.
Well, maybe he won't then, but he said he'd like to see like a water garden, or I can't remember if he called it a waterfall, water garden over there with it.
Water feature.
Yeah, because he likes the outdoors. So, and I think
Trump likes the outdoors.
Yeah, he does. I think Obama actually used to go outside and sit somewhere and like have a beer or something. So,
yeah, that and by that same area
and smoke a cigarette.
That's where he got busted, was in the Rose Garden.
Yep.
He just announced quit smoking, and that's where some cameras got him.
Yeah, it happened. As long as it wasn't a joint, and I really wouldn't care if it was, to be honest.
But also in that same area is where the Obamas had a basketball court.
That's right, and I think the Bushes had a horseshoe pit. And
possibly,
yeah, they've all done different things, but yeah, if you wanted to have like a little barbecue area or something, that would be kind of cool. But if you can't enjoy it because you can't be outside, I don't know. That would kind of suck, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's just me thinking out loud. I wouldn't mind it, but
they get outside. What was it? Nixon, I think, famously got out and talked to protesters about the Vietnam War.
Oh gosh. All right, man. Well, let me get out of here. I gotta do stories that'll make your blood pressure get up there. So
good. I need that vein over here hasn't been vibrating since like Tuesday.
Well,
so
I'll work. I'll work harder. So
yeah.
All right, brother. See you soon. Have a great one. Tell everybody, come on over.
Right, everybody.
And Wendell said to tell you he wants you to watch his show. So watch his show.
His show.
Yeah, he's got a new show.
Okay.
He's Bigfoot 9. He's Bigfoot 911. So, but he wants you to watch it. So
go right there on YouTube. Paranormal guys.
That's right. Come on over, Ken. We'll welcome you over here, even though we're weird over here. So come on over. So yeah. All right, Ross. We'll see you later.
Well, there's 30 minutes. You're not going to get back.
Yeah, no kidding. You're as bad as my wife. Blah 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 blah. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, man.
Bye.
All right, guys. That's it for us. We are.
All right. So, now how do I kill this? Thank you, everybody, for entertaining us while we were trying a new handoff, plus just kind of BSing. So, but so that's what we do. Anybody that's over here, this is my regular channel, my regular show, the Paranormal Guys on YouTube. And of course, we have the Wednesday night show. And then we have a daily show where we talk about, well, all kinds of crazy stuff sometimes. So let's see what we have today. The first thing I want to go over, and Wendell, I did tell him, you heard me. First thing I want to go over is the fires in New Jersey are still going pretty heavily right now. They're still having people outside their home. They're still telling people to avoid the air. It all sucks. But investigators, and I'll show you here in a minute, from multiple agencies have been investigating this. And well, they finally have a jerk. And while this guy, his name is Joseph William Kling, the media doesn't want to show you him because they keep calling him a teenager. He's not a teenager. He's over 18. He's 19. So he's a grown ass man. And what he did was he started a bonfire of pallets and walked away and left them. And thanks, Wendell. And it started the fire. So there's been numerous reports of this. There's been people who pretty much saw him. And so they've got him. They're charging him with aggravated arson. And it's so far, it's burned over 15,000 acres. And this was as of 10:18 this morning. It's still going. So it began Tuesday, April 22nd, and it's burned approximately 15,000 acres as this morning in Warrenton and Lacey Township. It's been under investigation since the beginning. This is from a local newspaper up there. I can't even pronounce that. Waretown News Online. So they have kind of the best news on this. It's closed multiple roads. They've evacuated homes. Well, the Ocean County, which is the area it started in, so they have jurisdiction, prosecutor Bradley Billheimer with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Commissioner Sean Tourette and the Ocean Township Chief of Police Mike Regalski, that they announced that they have Joseph Kling, 19, of Ocean Township, which is in Waretown, in custody and charged with aggravated arson. And, well, they've got him. So he was arrested for wildfire that started and has continued to spread throughout New Jersey. And on April 22nd at 9:45 a.m., the Cedar Bridge Fire Tower located a column of smoke coming from the area Jones Road and Bryant Road in Ocean Township. Upon arrival, emergency personnel observed a fire within the Natural Lands Trust Fork River Mountains Wilderness area, which is east of Jones Road. In a thorough investigation conducted by the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office Major Crimes Unit's Arson Squad, New Jersey Forest Fire Service, Ocean County Fire Marshal Office, and the New Jersey State Fire Marshals plotted the origin of the fire via global positioning, GPS. The cause of fire was determined to be incendiary by improperly extinguished bonfire. Further investigation revealed that Kling was the individual responsible for setting wooden pallets on fire, then leaving the area without the fire being fully extinguished. He was taken into custody, and he is currently at police headquarters. Well, he's currently in the Ocean County Jail, where more charges are pending, and they're going to wait for a detention hearing. So they have the guy in custody, and well, see, they keep calling him, it's funny. And Ross and I talk about this often, about you got to check your sources. If you Google the guy's name in Google News and you pull it up, you will see the difference in the medias. Some are calling him a teen. Others are calling him a man. Others are calling him a suspect. He's a suspect either way, or no matter which way. But see, here we go. New Jersey teen. He's not a teen. He's 19. He's a grown ass man. Let me make this bigger because you guys can't really see. No, I don't like that one. That's better. And then we'll make this screen over here larger. But yeah, so they keep calling him a teen. He's not a teen. He's 19. He's a grown ass man. He knows what he's did. So yeah, he's been charged with arson, aggravated arson in connection with the fire. So a multi-department investigation discovered the cause to be improperly extinguished bonfire. He'd been setting wooden pallets on fire and then left the area without the fire being fully extinguished. The bonfire has now become one of the largest wildfires in New Jersey in the past 20 years. So he's been in the Ocean County Jail, where he's going to be until he gets his hearing. And I hope he gets his hearing soon, because I hope he doesn't get released, but we'll see how that goes. So, all right. So you heard us talking earlier about Trump is putting his touches on the White House with flagpoles. This comes to us from Yahoo News and AP. President Donald Trump is putting the touches on the White House with a new flagpole, new artwork, an overhaul of the Oval Office decor, and possibly covering up the lawn in the Rose Garden. Trump, a former real estate developer and hotelier, said Wednesday that he's adding 2 beautiful flagpoles to the grounds to fly America's flag in about a week. The president recently hung new artwork featuring himself, including a rendering of him with his fist raised in the air, it being during the assassination attempt in Pennsylvania. He's redecorated the Oval Office by adding portraits of his predecessors, a wall-mounted copy of the Declaration of Independence that is shielded by dark drapes with many golden accents. Now, they're saying a copy. I thought it was the original document. I'd have to look that up. He's also talked about paving over the lawn in the Kennedy era Rose Garden. He's not paving over. They just said he's talking about putting stone down. He remarked on the grass on Wednesday, telling reporters a recent event where the grass was very wet and it was hard for people to stand on the grass. They got their shoes wet and ruined. Now, all families are granted the privilege of living in the White House try to find ways to leave their mark on the property, and Trump isn't any different. Near the end of his first term, he and Melania unveiled a refurbished tennis court. I didn't know that. And a new pavilion on the South grounds. Michelle Obama's vegetable garden is still functioning. It's still producing food for the White House. But Trump, being a real estate developer at heart, is always looking to improve the White House, according to spokesperson Carolyn Levitt, with new flagpoles. He took an impromptu stole, which I should ask Ross about that, because the video was basically he just walked out onto the grounds right pretty much down to the fence. And I should ask Ross about that because I'm sure that the Secret Service is probably having a heart attack. And he had, of course, reporters tailing him, and he said that he's going to install 2 beautiful flagpoles on the grounds because they've needed flagpoles for 200 years. He said the poles would be paid for by himself and could be installed as soon as next week. And yes, Chris, you were wrong. They are beautiful flagpoles. They're perfect. Nobody has ever seen flagpoles like these before. As Ross and I were talking about, the American flag and the POWF flag fly from the roof of the White House every day. Of course, they are now half staff for the Pope. But he pledged he was going to preside over the golden age of America, but he's ushered into the Oval Office a redecorated area with golden accents to the fireplace, doorway arches, walls, and other areas of the room, and it hasn't gone unnoticed. I really must say the Oval Office has never looked better, Paul Atkins, the new Securities and Exchange Commissioner chairman, said Tuesday after a ceremonial swearing in. One could really describe it as glistening. I've heard stories about it. It's true, its touch of the confident president leading with optimism towards an American golden age. Every president does adjust their office decor to the liking, with oftentimes new furniture, rugs, draperies, and other things. Some hire decorators. Former President Joe Biden had one of his brothers handle it. Do I need to make a comment? Trump seems to have directed the process himself. I have done some Trump touches to the Oval Office, he told the Ohio State football team when he invited them to tour the White House. So it's a little nicer than it used to be, I think, according to Trump, typical Trumpism. So he hung a portrait depicting a moment after the last summer's assassination attempt, bumping an official portrait by Barack Obama to the opposite side wall in the foyer. So, and then they have more artwork coming. In fact, I think they're going to hang one that was donated by Russia. I'm not sure on that, though. I saw a story about it last night. So, yeah, kind of weird. All right, so we were talking about reporters getting snippy. Well, apparently on Fox News, the anchor fired back, "Don't call me sweetheart." She said that she was, okay, well, let's just read the article. Fox News anchor Martha McCallum's patience ran out during a Wednesday segment when the American Federation of Teachers president Randy Weingarten interrupted her and called her sweetheart before she was forced to backpedal and eventually apologized. McCallum brought Weingartner in as a guest on the story, where she asked about issues current cases before the United States Supreme Court, Muhammad v. Taylor, that involves a group of parents demanding an opt-out for certain LGBTQ-themed lessons in the Montgomery County School District in Maryland. While Weingarten said that she could not comment directly on the case, she said that she was happy to talk about the broader issues. The Fox News anchor pointed out to the dismal test scores recorded across the board to particular that school district, and asked why the schools were worried more about mandating books about pronouns than about ensuring kids were actually learning to read, write, and understand math. She said, and I quote, "Look at this. I mean, if this isn't a failure that needs to be so much more important than whether or not you're reading a book about your pronouns, this is the Maryland rankings," McCallum stated. Fourth graders, these same little kids who've had these books, fed to them at a very young age, their reading ranked in 2013 were the second in the nation in Maryland in 2024, 16th in the nation, 20th in reading in 2024, math 16th in the nation, plummeting down to 39th. So if I were a parent in the district, I would be saying, please, please leave these books out of the picture. Teach my children to read and do math. Okay, let's focus on why we're here. And he argued the scores were going up in Massachusetts and down in Florida, which she claimed was proof that Florida, quote, anti-woke model was not working, and that throwing more money at education was the answer. McCallum pushed back, saying that Newark, New Jersey, where the capita per student funding was among the highest in the nation, suggested otherwise. And then apparently they got into a bit of a tiff, but as she was trying to make her point, she interrupted her, saying, and shut her down. Martha, sweetheart, listen to me. And she replied back, please don't call me sweetheart. And she objected, clearly fed up. And apologized. I'm sorry, my bad, backpedal, but continue to claim the education problem could be fixed with more money. Martin referencing Mississippi pointed out that what has been done with the money is also important. One of the things that they've done in Mississippi is to expand choice. They're also doing something really important in Mississippi, which is to expand teacher training. So do not call Martha sweetheart. So she doesn't like that. She doesn't like that pronoun. So, all right. Man, we're going to run out of time here today. All right. So I found this in the mirror and thought it was funny. A mom sparked a debate after revealing how she wants to change. This comes to us from the Mirror, and how a mom wants to change her daughter's name. The 8-year-old daughter's name, after seeing how students at her school tease her. While we can't choose our names from birth, we always have an option to change them later in life. That's exactly what one 8-year-old girl wants to do after being subject to teasing at the school over her surname. It prompted her mom to seek public opinion on whether she should change her daughter's name for her daughter's namesake and leave it how it is. Taking to Reddit, she explained, I have an 8-year-old daughter and her last name is Dick. My husband said he was teased a lot as a child and would like to change her last name. We are thinking of changing it to my maiden name, which is more like, quote, Smith. Is there anything I should think of? I will hire an attorney to help me legally change it if both parents agreed to get a new Social Security and passport for her. That's not all. The mom is considering sending her daughter to a child psychologist to help her process the issues it's caused from school. She added, thankfully, she has only been teased a few times and doesn't seem to be bothered at it, by which seems to make me worry she is going to want to change it, but we feel so strongly it would be a good decision. So don't call her Dick. All right. So that's, sorry, I couldn't help myself. All right, we go to this one from Oddie, which is an odd news source, but apparently they do some news reporting occasionally, but it's on weird things. Boozing chimps may show getting drunk with your friends is older than humanity. Well, let's see about this. Somebody taking an embarrassing picture of you while you're out drinking with your friends is a purely human experience. Who hasn't had that happen? No other creatures on the planet have to live through that humiliation, well, except for chimpanzees. For the first time ever, a team of researchers has caught chimps on camera while they share fermented fruit with each other. With the chips huddled around the fruit, it looks astonishing like a bunch of guys around a bar table. Although it's not unusual for animals to unwittingly eat fermented fruit and alcoholic fruit, the chimp's behavior is unusual. The apes don't usually share their food, but they seem to do it so regularly when it becomes an alcoholic fruit. As this new kind of behavior was just recently observed, researchers aren't sure what the tendency to share the fermented fruit means. However, they believe that it might be a way to enhance social bonds. In other words, it's the equivalent of going out for a few drinks with your friends. So we can see the chimpanzee sprawled out there after he's enjoyed his fruit. They're still researching this to see what the effects are eating fruit. That's great. Even chimps get drunk. So as apes pass around a bunch of fruit, what's the big deal? Well, it's weird because they don't typically share their meals. They don't share food at all. So this behavior with fermented fruit might be important, one doctor pointed out. Additionally, the fact the fruit was alcoholic is another oddity. Animals don't tend to intentionally get drunk, with some exceptions, as being drunk is a great way to get killed in nature. Now, the breadfruits aren't exactly like tequila, according to the researchers. The highest measure of alcohol is 0.61. That's a light beer, isn't it? And as much as there may be to your breakfast OJ. Huh? Okay, well, but they're investigating to see if chimps socialize to get drunk. Good story. I'm all there for that. If you want to check out the whole article, I'm a little pressed for time today. You can go over to oddee.com and find that article. All right, so we like to talk about weird things. Last night we talked about aliens on our show. Chris says, as much as I enjoy a Christy gnome photo, I have to admit enjoying the hammered chimp picture even more. It's good to know we're not the only ones. So last night on my show, we had two UFO people. Well, today I ran across this article that the Vatican, this comes to us from the Mirror as well, the Vatican helped cover up UFOs, and it's urged to release documents in the wake of the Pope's death. Interesting. UFO investigator Mark Christopher Lee has called on the Holy See, I wonder what that means, Holy SEE, to release hundreds of classified documents about potential sightings from their mysterious underground archives. The Vatican has been accused of, quote, working with the U.S. government to investigate and cover up UFOs, and is now being urged to release what they know after the Pope's death. U.S. UFO investigator and filmmaker Mark Christopher Lee has called on the Holy See, SEE, to release hundreds of classified documents about potential sightings from their mysterious underground archives. Comes less than 2 years after a Pentagon whistleblower made shocking, unsubstantiated allegations that the Vatican had been involved in covering up a UFO crash in Italy in the 30s. Did not know that. Lee, who has studied the links between religion and the alien phenomena, claims there could be sightings dating back centuries in the heavily guarded documents. Following the death of Pope Francis, he is now urging his successors to, quote, share the truth. He told Mail Online, if the church is truly committed to spiritual truth and human enlightenment, then it must no longer suppress information that could fundamentally reshape our understanding of our place in the cosmos. He also explains that outlandish encounters described in religious texts could be misinterpreted as alien sightings. What people are seeing in the sky could be genuine extraterrestrial UFOs, but there's also most likely going to be secret military technology years and years ahead of what we think we have. I think the people in the UFO community need to be aware of that. It's not just little green men visiting. It's more complicated. I think the public deserves to know we don't need to be protected from this information. It comes less than 2 years after David Charles Grush, an Air Force veteran, former member of National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, claimed the U.S. government had recovered a number of extraterrestrial vehicles and has lied about it for decades. And Chris says, Holy See is the governing body of the Catholic Church. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. I did not know that. So in 2023, he testified in front of the House Oversight Committee. And when asked whether he thought the government was in possession of UAPs, which is also UFOs, unidentified aerial phenomena, he answered, absolutely, based on interviewing 40 witnesses over 4 years. I know the exact locations. He also testified that a massive cover-up was going on, and any military personnel attempting to talk about aliens or extraterrestrial phenomenon was met with brutal retaliation. I do have knowledge of an active planned reprisal activity against myself and other colleagues, he's told the subcommittee. At one point during the first of his kind hearing, Representative Tim Burchett, he's a Republican from here in Tennessee, asked him personally, have you heard anyone that has been murdered? And he said, I have to be very careful answering that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities. Lawmakers challenged the expert, including one that touched on the idea that all he saw was military grade technology, or perhaps a plane sent by a foreign state. In a statement, the Defense Department spokesperson Sue Goff said investigators have not discovered any verifiable information to substantiate claims that any program regarding the possession or reverse engineering of extraterrestrial material has existed in the past or currently. All right, so there's a claim that the Catholic Church is helping to cover up this. I don't know if I buy that, but I have heard for years in some of the talks I've had with people that, well, they do have hidden things there at the Vatican City. So, okay. All right. I'm not going to get out of here without having one Bigfoot story. A Yeti and an alien get weird for a frozen food burger named Bubba. The Bubba Burger, the Bubba Burger, the number one branded frozen burger in the U.S., is flipping the scripts on frozen foods with its first campaign from recently appointed AOR Familiar Creatures. The burger brand has long been a hit with consumers, but flown somewhat under the radar when it comes to marketing and advertising. In its first campaign from, quote, Familiar Creatures, You Bubba Believe It, expects to change that. The new brand platform kicks off later this month with an out-of-the-world launch spot. The 30-piece stars two of the universe's weirdest inhabitants, an alien and Yeti, discussing an even weirder concept for the modern world. Bubba frozen burgers are made with no fillers, no compromise, just premium beef. So they're calling it the unbelievable lunch. Consumers are introduced to two roommates, a mythological Yeti and an alien who converse over the Yeti's lunch, an eye-catching, done-up Bubba Burger. It is so tantalizing, it prompts the alien to ask, what is that? The answer is simple. It's the only burger on the market made using 100% USDA choice and nothing else. As I don't know that you can hear this, but you're talking about the Bubba Burger. I got to say, I like it. All right, then. So context suggests it may get weird and that hilarity ensues. So there you go. Check out that video for the Bubba Burger. That's going to be coming soon to commercials near you. But I thought that was funny. Uh, Alien and a Yeti talk about a burger. So let's see. We won't cover that story. Earth is peeling like an onion. We won't talk about that story. We won't talk about that story because we're running out of time here. Yeah, we won't talk about that today. And that, and we won't talk about that. But we will mention this since we do talk about health things. At the top of the hour, currently, you're listening to the Paranormal Guys on Yerg's Radio and Rainbow Radio. And of course, our fans down under, Radio X in Australia, we welcome you all to come over and join the chat. We have Chris, we have Denise, we have Wendell, we have Brenda. We have several regulars in here. So come on in, jump in, and you'll have some fun in the chat. And what we do here normally is there's a lot of prepper shows, a lot of channels that tell you why we died today or why we're going to die today. I like to tell you that, well, there's a reason we didn't die. There's grown-ups in charge. So, and on Jurg's show, he's specifically targeting one show, The Popular Report, as being fake news. So there you go. You heard it here. All right. So this story comes to us again from the Daily Mail. Major U.S. airport on red alert after patient infected with the world's most infectious disease passes through. Health officials are sounding the alarm over a potential measles exposure at the Seattle International Airport. An infected infant visited the port's S concourse with their family, potentially exposing others to the world's most infectious disease. The person was at the airport, the largest in the Pacific Northwest and one of the busiest airports in America. On April 17th, between 4:50 and 7:45, the individual passed through customs and baggage claims area before exiting through the south end of the main terminal. They later visited Seattle's Children's ER after developing symptoms on April 17th, 18th, and 20th, and they were admitted on the 20th. Their condition remains unknown. Anyone who fears they've been exposed needs to contact your health provider. So, all right, there you go. We have a health alert. All right, so what we normally do here is we do a report on things that are going on in the world, and I like to call it our presidential briefing. And we get the FEMA daily operations briefing, and then we discuss the weather and things going on from there. Yesterday, there was no FEMA briefing because, well, I don't know why, but there wasn't one. They didn't produce one, at least not before we went off the air. But today, Thursday, April 24th, at 8:30 a.m., they presented this to the president. This is the FEMA Daily Operations Briefing. You can find it available online at .gov. So they say there are no significant incidents ongoing, but they're monitoring severe weather, which includes flash flooding in the central southern plains and an elevated fire weather in Florida. Of course, I'm sure they're also monitoring New Jersey and the Carolinas. So we look at the weather, and as of this morning, there's that elevated risk of tornadic activity, severe thunderstorm, pretty much right up the middle of the country, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, part of Nebraska. Be on the lookout. There's possibilities for some intense storms. We understand from reports yesterday there was some hail about the size of a golf ball in Texas. So hopefully it will avoid your area, but there is that chance. Please have a weather radio, a flashlight, and a tool in case you catch yourself in an emergency. Up in the higher elevations, there's a chance for some mixed precipitation in Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, and parts of Colorado, while the rest of the country eastward has a chance for some rain and thunderstorms. As the evening goes on, though, that elevation and risk increases for storm intensity pretty much over the Missouri, Arkansas, Memphis area of the country, and will expand as it gets energy from the warm Gulf moisture. So Friday, though, they're saying that there's not that much of a chance, maybe not rule out an isolated thunderstorm here or there, but nothing severe. And in going into the weekend, it looks as though it's going to be a pretty calm day for most of the country. Some areas of the south and the northeast will see some rain. Some elevations in the higher elevations in the southwest may see some mixed precipitation. But the main thing to worry about is the next 24 hours before we start talking about next week's potential bad storm. That warm Gulf moisture and the warmer Gulf water is going to produce a lot of energy in the southeast. So keep your eyes and ears open. But today, Texas up in the panhandles, going up into Oklahoma, Nebraska, just keep your eyes and ears, be weather aware because the potential is there. We talk about fire weather down in Florida because of the dry humidity and high heat, anywhere pretty much from Tampa south almost to the Keys, pretty much down to the Everglades, not completely across the state, but they're at an elevated risk today for fires. And as is tomorrow, New Mexico is going to be at a elevated risk. So keep your eyes out. Do not have any open flames. So just be weather aware. I encourage everyone can get a weather radio. They're fairly reasonable. You should have that in a working smoke detector at minimum. So the space weather outlook, well, the past 24 hours, there hasn't been anything significant. In the next 24 hours, they're not expecting anything significant. And we can see that Maybe the only communications that would be impacted would be over Africa, Asia, the Baltic region, but there's nothing really big going on. And as they talked about, they're monitoring the weather in the Southwest, and of course the fires and the fire weather danger down in Florida today. So that's pretty much all for the FEMA. We'll jump out of that one. And we'll find out what President Trump is doing today. Hopefully, he's not wandering around the White House lawns today digging holes for a flagpole. He's got to have somebody that does that for him, right? So at 9 o'clock, we always say there's a press time at the cameras and reporters need to be there. At 9 a.m., they need to report for work. Well, at noon, the president greeted the prime minister of the Kingdom of Norway. 12:05, they're going to have a bilateral lunch with the prime minister. Then at 1:05, they're going to have bilateral meetings with the Kingdom of Norway. At 4:30, the president in closed press is expected to sign some executive orders. During the lunch in the bilateral meetings, there will be no media, but the White House will have the open press pool at 1:05. Well, they had it at 1:05. So at 6:35, the president departs the White House en route to the Leesburg Executive Airport landing zone on the South Lawn. And I love how they time everything to the minute. He arrives at the landing zone spot at 7:10. He departs the landing zone en route to the Trump National Golf Club in Washington, D.C. 7:25, the president arrives at the Trump National Golf Club in Washington, D.C. 7:30, the president participates in a MAGA dinner, which is closed to the press. 9:05, he departs back out of the Trump National Golf Club, Washington, D.C., en route to the White House. And at 9:20, he will get back to the White House. 9:30, he departs it, and he's on the ground. 9:55, they put a lid on it. The president is back in the building. So Chris says 2 o'clock flagpole, praise and discussion. Well, I'm sure that'll be the talk of the meeting, and they're going to give him a hard time about it, but it's a flagpole. What's the big deal? If he wants to put one up, good for him. I don't see the big deal, but there's going to be somebody, that makes a big deal of it. I don't get why, but whatever. I guess people need a reason to have a show. So, hey, maybe that's why I'm here. All right. So for those of you listening, you're not able to see the NOAA satellite, the world in real time. We're looking at an image from space of our big, beautiful, perfect, round blue globe. And we can see that most of the country is covered in clouds. Maybe Chicago to New York has got a little bit of break, but before the day's over, you will have some clouds out in the Southwest, light clouds, but coming off the Pacific. Excuse me, you can expect some cloudy weather. We'll drop down below and take a real peek down yonder. It was funny last night. If you watched my show, Amanda dropped some Southernisms in her talk, and our guest, who is from the Northwest, just kind of looked at her like, what the hell did you just say? And I'm quite sure that our Australian radio fans, Radio X in Australia, does the same thing when I talk. So, like, what the hell did he just say? So, I guess Brenda is waving at me. I don't know. Australia, it doesn't look as though it's going to be a very cloudy day for you today. Looking at the big, beautiful, round, perfect globe. All right, we're going to jump over to the National Weather Service statement. Their daily brief, oh, she said she was on the phone. Well, you missed it. The whole show, Brenda, you missed everything. So everybody jump in the chat and get on her. We're going to do the National Weather Service update. We're going to do this in case they change anything from the original one. And it actually looks like for today, they might have increased the risk of the severe weather in the panhandle of Texas extending up into Kansas. But that whole area today can expect, as this low tries to push across the country, some extreme weather. There wouldn't rule out that you can catch some storm chasers later today looking for some tornadic activity. So please be weather aware if you're in Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa. There's a chance for severe weather as that moves east throughout the night. It'll lose a little bit of energy as it's getting eastward, but it's still going to be strong. And what is Wendell saying? I just got out the phone with Randy Stewart and I sent you his phone number. Okay, great. Thank you, Wendell. I appreciate that. We'll see if we can get him on the show. Tomorrow, Friday, well, it's going to be soggy for most of the country. Pretty much from the Mississippi east is going to get soaked, but it'll be on and off showers. In the higher elevations in the southwest, over into Wyoming and down into Colorado, my friend may see a mixed precipitation. It's funny, when I say mixed precipitation, she sends me pictures of 2 inches of snow. And then if we look here, that energy is going to transfer to the northeast and they could experience some snow or mixed precipitation back up into Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And the low will push to the south and kind of create a little bow in the middle of the country where New England, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, into the south, deep south, into the northeast Atlantic coast may see some mixed precipitation as that low tries to push down to the Gulf. So be weather aware, keep your eyes and ears open. Wendell says you might get on one of his nerves. I get on people's nerves all the time, Wendell. So, all right, good deal. All right, we're going to zoom in here and we're going to look at the current weather in Australia. Let me make this larger here. And we look at the cloud cover. We talked about it's not too cloudy, just kind of overcast. And the radar, we don't really see a whole lot of precipitation except for Brisbane around the Gold Coast down into Sydney, but the precipitation isn't expected to be very high, except maybe on the Brisbane coast. Otherwise, it's not going to be too bad. Currently, it's kind of balmy, unless you're up in the northwest, up in Broome and Port Hedland. It's in the high 80s, and in all right, I'm going to zoom in because I'm blind. In Canberra, it's 71. Down in Perth, it's 55. These are all Fahrenheit. I'm sorry, my friends to the south. I do not know the Celsius. I guess I could convert it for you. Over on the East Coast, it's kind of balmy currently in the 70s. And as you get south, it's going to be a little bit chillier in the 60s down around Melbourne. We'll zoom out real quick and hop up to the United States and see what the current temperatures are there. Currently in Columbus, it's 80. Up in Burlington, Vermont, it's in the 60s. At Knoxville, Tennessee, it's currently in the 70s. Atlanta, 71. Montgomery, 83. And down in Texas, where the hottest spot is in the country is, no, actually, Odessa, it's 80. Houston, it's 78. But Tampa currently has the hottest temperature with 86. And if you drop down to the Keys, it's not as bad down there. It's only in the high 70s, low 80s in the Keys today. Mobile, Alabama is currently 79. And front is going to be pushing all this Gulf warm, moist air up to the northeast. We'll look here in just a minute at the wind. There's a little dry ridge right over the Appalachians that is concerning to firefighters at the moment. So the current humidity from St. Louis east to Washington, D.C., up to Maine, and there's very little humidity, but that sloppy air is coming up out of the south where it's getting real moist, trying to push to the west. All right, let's jump over here too. Stop that. There we go. Severe weather at the moment. It looks around Dallas, Fort Worth area is some severe weather, and the other severe weather is to my east. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It's to my west and to my south here in Knoxville, and it's pretty much in central Tennessee, and it's making its way eastward, so I may get some thunder boomers later today. Down on the coast of Charleston, there's a pretty strong thunderstorm. And up there may actually be, the energy may produce later today for a rare thunderstorm up in the northeast. So I'm going to say up in the northeast, I'm talking about the far part of Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. They don't typically see violent thunderstorms up there, but they may today. We zoom in here in the middle of the country, and we see that in Watertown, there's this pretty significant little cell. And to the west of Watertown, there's another pretty good sized cell. And it's producing in Rapid City, Iowa, it's producing quite a bit of energy at the moment. And while we're talking about the energy, let's look at the warnings and see what the warnings are. Chris, what are the odds? What do you think? We're going to have a warning from Montgomery County, Maryland. Why did you just do that? Refresh. There we go. We're looking at weather warning, and it's WX Warn. You can find it online by searching it. This is a great site because it gives you pretty much up to the minute weather warnings from the National Weather Service. We see Texas has got flooding and a special weather advisory because the warm, hot air down there where the thunderstorms are currently at. And what do we have right here? We have a test alert for Montgomery County, Maryland. Started at 2:05 and ends at 2:15. I don't understand it. And says may have been warning Andy on the phone that we are on to him. Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to get away from. There's a Maryland test message, severity unknown. It started at 2:05 Eastern, ends at 2:15 Eastern. It's Montgomery County. If we zoom in and look there, I don't know. I'm just throwing a little shade there. For our regulars, we have a fan, and sometimes he's on our shows, Andy, and he is definitely on top of everything with fire, police, scanner activity. So there's always a test message for some reason in Maryland. I do not know why. Maybe I should ask AI. And so we say it's Andy testing. So as we continue looking, South Carolina, you've got a flood advisory, special weather statement in Louisiana. That's probably because of the strong warnings. Texas, you've got the severe thunderstorm and flood warnings. South Carolina, later today, you're going to be seeing some sloppy storms all over. Tennessee, flood advisory. Tennessee had the problem down along Memphis recently. Now it's extending to middle Tennessee. So they could expect to have some possible floodings and some flash flooding in Texas as well as Louisiana. High wind advisory for you up in New York, Denise, right now. But looks like the South is really the main area at the moment. If we look at the activity here on the map, as we can see, it is still in the panhandle of Texas, ascending up over the tip of Oklahoma back to the west. But there's flood warnings from these storms being posted as they go further east, and the severe weather alerts are popping up. There's an air quality alert in Maryland. That's kind of new. The Department of Environmental Issues issued a code orange air quality. It's issued it today at noon and it expires at midnight for portions of the eastern shore. It's a code orange, meaning that the concentrations within the region may be unhealthy for sensitive groups. Well, we'll take a look at that here in a minute. All right. And of course, we have the gale warnings around the coast. And probably off of the Atlantic coast, you can expect some windier conditions today. All right, so Maryland has had all kinds of air quality alerts. I'm sure this is due to the fires. We'll take a look here in just a moment. All right, so that is at Weather Warn. You can go check them out and get the latest up to the minute weather warnings. It's a great site. And hey, look at this. Look at this. As we're live, 2:15. It's currently 2:16. A test message from Maryland was issued at 2:15, expires at 2:25 in Montgomery County. Monitoring message only, please disregard. And we'll just zoom in here. We'll see this little section of Maryland has got a test message. Why do they do that? I don't understand. If I lived up there, I would get so annoyed at those test messages. Please ignore test message every day. Oh, well, okay. All right, so this is the current wind map of the United States. Let me refresh this. And we see, as I was talking about, that sloppy air from the from the Gulf of America is trying to pull to the west, to the northwest. And it's meeting that ridge, that low, right over Denver pretty much right now. But that sloppy, warm, moist air from the south is going to be feeding everything right there from Denver down to Dallas, pretty much over to Phoenix. And we see coming off the Atlantic, there's some winds being pulled, but they're being pulled to the north, northeast. And down in Florida, you have an unusual condition today where the winds are coming from the east over the continent to the Gulf, or over the state to the Gulf of America. So normally your winds are the opposite directions. We'll pull up the lightning map and take a look at it. And we see right now, let's make this larger. Right now, the strongest cell is south of Dallas, southeast of Dallas. Actually, it's pretty much all south of Dallas. That one cell is pretty strong right there south of Dallas. There's a lot of electrical activity. Chris said Columbia is looking glorious. They are. They're always looking glorious. That cell down around Dallas has the potential to produce some severe weather. There's a cell to the to the west, southwest of Oklahoma City to keep an eye on. The next most energized storm is off the coast of Georgia, down at the South Carolina border with Charleston. It's got some electrical activity, but the worst at the moment is in Texas. But that energy is expected to continue in a northeast pattern, and tonight it could even get sloppy here in the deep south. So have a weather radio, be aware. And this is at lightningmaps.org. You can go check it out and see what the lightning is. We can go down to Australia and see that currently over in Brisbane, there's a cell off the Gold Coast in Brisbane that's got a little bit of electrical activity, so stay indoors and don't be out flying a kite today. You can go to lightningmaps.org and check this out and see what the lightning is doing anywhere in the world. It's a pretty cool map. And I like to pull it up to show where the most energy is. And we know it's going to tap that warm Gulf moisture later today. And, well, it's going to suck if you're in Tornado Alley. Pull it up. We're pulling up poweroutage.us. I expected to see some power outages in Texas, but surprisingly, California is showing to have the most. Well, they were showing to have the most customers out, but yeah, they still are. 13,537 people are without power in California. It doesn't exactly show where, though. Burbank, where's that? Burbank, Liberty, and Pacific Gas and Electric. It's got 7,000, 5,000 in Southern California. Edison. Does it show where? No, it doesn't really show where. It doesn't show a map, which is kind of weird. All right, so you can go check that out and see where the power is out near you. Brenda says, I was on the phone with someone from A&E, not with Andy. Well, you should tell Andy to get on the show because we miss Andy. So there you go. All right. Tell the people at A&E I'm ready for the interview as well. All right. So this was just released this morning, and this is the U.S. Drought Monitor. And with all that sloppy weather in the deep south, there's not as much of a drought. Florida, surprisingly enough, has some drought issues, but over here in the Carolinas is an area of concern because of the actual can I zoom in on? No, I can't. I can zoom in on it because of the current conditions with the fires. That's a concern in the just to the east of the Appalachia, and surprisingly along the Gulf Coast. I'm sorry, the Atlantic coast of North Carolina. So Brenda says she sent Andy the link. Well, good. And from the U.S. Drought Monitor, you can zoom in to each state. For instance, right now in Florida, we see that down in the Everglades, the drought is over in Volusia County, just Jacksonville, I believe there's a drought. Go to current U.S. There we go. And like, let's pull up to the south here. We can see that Tennessee, well, it's not doing too bad. That's because of all the heavy rains. But Texas right now, you are experiencing some severe droughts with that dry weather and the energy from these storms. It's only going to get worse. So hopefully you can get some water. All right. So there's your current drought map, but the worst drought conditions currently follow the American-Mexican border. So there you go. Hawaii is also experiencing a drought. I don't understand how Hawaii experiences a drought, but Puerto Rico, they never report. So he said he is watching, but he can't get in the chat. Well, that's because he doesn't have a YouTube channel. So, all right. So there is the U.S. Drought Monitor. And like I said, most of the severe drought is along the Mexican American border. All right, let's move on. This is a new favorite map of ours. This is the air quality map. It shows the air quality, and you're going to see the smoke, the pollution, and all the air. Annie just happens to be the first letters of Andy's. Yes, that's right. So Chris says Annie just happens to be the first letters of Andy and emergency. Well, I see a connection. Brenda is hiding something from us. All right, if we look in the U.S. here, this is the air quality map. This is brought to us by IQ Air, and we see that currently the winds coming into the U.S. are coming from the south, and they're extending from the east, and it's pulling over some of the smoke from fires and sand from Africa, but once it gets into the Gulf, it's a lot of the smoke and pollution's moving up to the northeast, and pretty much dividing the country at the Mississippi is where the pollutions are being split up. But we'll take a better look at it here in just a minute. As far as the U.S., and we see down in Australia currently the worst air conditioning is pretty much in Melbourne to the northeast is where that smoke and pollutants are being carried by the winds. But you can zoom out and see the fires on the globe and see the cycling of the wind. We'll make it to where it's for everybody. And this area up here we've been talking about up in the North Atlantic, well, it's starting to get a little bit of attention because it's about to drop down here next week, and we may be talking about it. So keep your eyes on that. Change this to the big, beautiful, perfect round globe so you get an idea. This image is AI is showing the direction of the wind and the pollutants and the air quality. And you get a pretty good image of the entire world. So, and the worst air quality in the world right now appears to be pretty much Northern Africa extending over into Asia. They're having the worst air quality today. And we talked about this, but it does appear that north of the equator is where a lot of the worst air quality is, with the exception of maybe parts of South America, but it's interesting. So, all right. So you can pull this up at IQ Air Earth and check them out and look at the air quality. We're going to zoom in a little bit here. I'll hit my friends at the Weather Channel up. I'm not a big fan of this map because I don't believe them. They say today in the South, it's a pretty good clear day. But if you're over on the Atlantic Chesapeake Bay region up into the northeast of that, well, the tree allergies are going to be pretty bad. Right smack dab in the middle of the country in Kansas to the west is the worst areas today on that side of the Mississippi for tree pollen. Weed pollen hasn't gotten to be a big deal yet, but grass pollen is growing because, well, it's getting, no, I don't want to. It's getting warmer here in the South, so that pollen is going to increase. And if you're down in the panhandle of the Gulf of America, it looks like a bad day for grass pollen. We'll pull up the aches and pains map. I'm really not a fan of this map either, but this is supposed to indicate where today would be the most painful. Looks kind of blasé for the country today, except for maybe along the Sierra Nevadas extending down into Mexico. But otherwise, it doesn't look too bad. I really don't know that I buy that map. Breathing index map, this one I kind of don't buy either, but it's science. You got to go with it. We got Wendell and Chris and Brendan in chat. It says pretty much most of the country, except for down around, well, west of the Four Corners to Southern California down to the border is where the worst breathing quality is today in the U.S. All right. So we're going to look at the smoke from the wildfires and the wildfires. This map is going to show us a little bit of everything. It shows us the actual fires and the smoke. It doesn't really show the direction of travel of the smoke, but we know from previously looking that if it's over on the Atlantic, it's being pulled down over Florida and back up through the Gulf of America, splitting up the Mississippi. But that smoke is hanging if you're working in the Gulf of America on an oil platform today. It's kind of hanging in the air. And we can look at all these fires to the west of the Mississippi. Most of them are prescribed burns. To the east, they are either wildfires are arson, and some of them are prescribed burns, but not as many as there are to the west of the Mississippi. And this map is brought to us by Air Now. It's pretty much the same thing as we look at it. That stagnant air. Brenda says she needs a nap. She only slept 2 hours. Well, Brenda, you got a half hour. Hang in there. Be tough, Brenda. Be tough. Uh, we see the ridge of smoke coming out of the Gulf of America, extending up with the winds out of the Gulf of America up to the Midwest. And then down in Mexico, we see Mexico City. Mexico is got some heavy smoke conditions. Up in the Chesapeake Bay region, Norfolk, to the north of Norfolk up into the Chesapeake, all that smoke is going off to the Atlantic shore. And if we look up here, coming out of New Jersey, that's where all of that air quality is horrible. Pretty much, it doesn't show it as much here, but pretty much from Tom's River to the northeast, because the fires are still burning in New Jersey. So the Jones Road fire is still active. All right, let's pull up. I like this map. No, this map's good, but I like this map has some old fire data on it too. But we do know that the fires are still burning on the east of the Appalachian. But see, it doesn't show the New Jersey ones yet, so this one is not as up to date. I like this map, which comes to us from our friends at NASA and the Forestry Service, to give you pretty much the most up to date. As we see up into New Jersey, they're still dealing with a lot of the fires up there, and that one fire is it was at 15,000. Was it 15.8, 15.5 that it's burnt as of this morning, and it's still burning. They're trying to get it under control. And just as they are to the fires in the Appalachia, they've done a pretty decent job on the east side of the Appalachia, but that Bear Rock Creek fire is kind of a booger to get in there and get to. We've seen some more fires reported here recently in the northeast section of Georgia, but they're not as large as the ones that were previously reported. Down in Orlando, or north of Orlando, you have one small fire there, and that one is 200. Well, I say small. It's 270,000 acres. And you have one just parallel to it that is 241 acres that they're working on. So if you're down in that area, Deltona, please be aware of the wildfires down there. And remember, you are also under a fire weather warning watch too. So, all right, the Panhandle, there's a couple little fires down in the Appalachia. It's not Apachoa National Forest, Juniper Swamp, and Hilliard have some small wildfires. Zooming over to Texas, we see Louisiana has some. Texas, most of the years are prescribed burns. The Blue Jay fire is 700,000 acres. Not sure if that one is a prescribed burn or not. And all the little red dots you see are fires that have not been verified by boots on the ground, are their small fires. We see over on the west section of Colorado today is where the Forestry Service is worried the most about wildfires. That's probably because of that storm that's raging down there too with the lightning. Is not going to help. And the interactive air quality map, this is from airnow.gov, and it shows pretty much like we talked about in the US. Atlantic seaboard, moderate air conditions. If you're outside, you're sensitive to it, you might want to stay in. Pretty much from New York south down all the way to the Keys, back up into the Gulf, coming up through Mobile into the northeast. This is a sea bear. What's Susie doing? She's burning at her house. Well, tell her to stop burning. So Texas, well, the air quality for you is not too good. Brenda and Colleen, it's, well, moderate air conditions. And the worst air condition right now is probably southwest in the Sonora Desert of Phoenix. And the other section is up in, is that West Virginia? West Virginia, Ohio region is the next worst poor air quality in the states. We zoom out, and it really doesn't show us anything except the U.S. So we get that information from the bigger map. And this is our beautiful, big, perfect, round blue globe. And we see the current winds. This is if you're listening on Radio X in Australia or or Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, you're really missing a sight. We have the AI wind map pulled up, and it's got the big, beautiful, perfect globe, and you can see all of the wind. It's just the wind. It doesn't have anything to do with any of the pollutions in the patterns that they're forming. And the deeper color greens are the speed of the winds. Brenda, I guess you're trying to say it's a marble. Well, okay. It's a big, beautiful, perfect round marble. All right. Going onward, we see, as we talked about, that air is being pulled over from Africa, meeting up in the Atlantic. It's being split, and then some of it's being pulled up into the Gulf of America. And you can see there the storms that are into the Texas panhandle are going to be picking up that moisture. And as it goes forward today, it's going to increase the elements of storm. For Brenda, I will fix this so that she's happy. And we have it. Is that it? Which one is it? That's it. For Brenda, we'll put it like that since she believes we're on a plate. On the plate view, you can see the little trough there to the northeast, just to the south of Greenland, by the way, that they're going to be concerned about moving southward later this week. It's going to move south like that, and it's going to be a problem. So there you go. I just discovered this the other day, and I just kind of that made it's kind of funny to me. What I'm talking about, if you're listening on the radio, is you can actually pull the map and zoom in and move it around, kind of like a 3D Earth to what you want to see. It's kind of a weird looking view. Space weather prediction. We talked about that earlier. There really isn't anything forecast. We'll look at the aurora forecast for the next 24 hours, and we'll pull it up. And we'll see it's pretty much not going to affect anywhere in the lower 48. You're not going to be able to see the northern lights unless you're in the far north. So all the northern lights are going to stay up there. Brightest this evening. Maybe if you're in the Midwest, maybe you might see them. But for the most part, they're going to be staying to the north of the United States. Up in Canada, you will have a perfect view of them. All right, we go over here to the global disaster and alert. This isn't as up to date as some of the others, so we're just going to highlight it real quickly. I'm going to refresh it. There we go. The 6.2 earthquake in Turkey was the most recent one. The cyclones are pretty much a thing of the past. Costa Rica, there was some volcanic activity. We talked about the droughts in the U.S., but we didn't talk about it in the world. Let's go over here to the event list. This comes to us from Disaster Alert. We can pull up the current event list of incidents, and they range anything from animal attack to human terrorism. And nothing new there. We'll kind of scan down to only catch up with what's in the past 24 hours. Nigeria is having another 29 new cases in Alberta of the measles. And let's see, that's the new. And we talked about the Russian cyber attack on the Netherlands, which was kind of odd. And we'll go down here. France, French school stabbing, student killed and injured 3 others. In Canada, police say a man shot by officer at the Toronto Pearson Airport. All right. And what else do we have here? There was a stabbing, and I saw the video of it in up from my original part of the world from I can't think of the name of the high school. It's in Prince William County, Virginia, that occurred yesterday. Power outage sparked protests in Pakistan. I believe we talked about that yesterday. And, well, it's a kind of a quiet news day. Well, locust outbreak, if you're in Namibia, second wave. All right, the second wave of locusts. That was one I haven't reported on. So, All right, we'll keep scanning down. See, fire breaks out in a palace in India. It was overnight. Chicago firefighter dies battling a West Side garage fire caused by human action. That we'll highlight that real quick. We got a few minutes here. There was a firefighter line of duty death in Chicago yesterday. Chicago firefighter was killed battling a West Side garage fire Wednesday morning, according to the fire department. It was a difficult day, and the family of Captain David Meyer is mourning the loss of their husband and, well, their captain of the station. The garage fire that led to the tragedy was started by someone igniting the contents of a trash bin. The development comes as Captain Myers is being remembered as a hardworking, decades-long public servant, and the fire broke out at 4:03 a.m. the 1200 block of Pine Avenue. The fire commissioner, Annette Nance Holt, said there was a fire that was being put out when the garage collapsed on Captain Meyer. A mayday was called and issued for the firefighter down. He was transported to the hospital where he later died. Meyer, 54, was a Chicago native and served on Engine 96 and Truck 29, according to the commissioner. He served 28 years on the job and leaves behind a wife, parents, 3 daughters, and a son. We go to work every day and we never know if we're going to come home, but this is what he loved to do and he was really good at it, according to the commissioner. When you lose a brother or sister in the fire department, it's life-changing. Yes, it is. It's like losing a family member. It's not just a coworker. You're losing a family member. We are grieving for the family, the loss of the loved ones of Captain David Meyer, who was lost early this morning battling a garage fire that somebody set. 413, what are you out there doing, playing around, play with fire? So uh, someone who lives in the home which garage belonged to said the fire woke him up. According to investigators, said the fire was from ignition contents of a trash bin by human actions. Investigation continues. They saw firefighters praying. Neighbors saw firefighters praying and knew something terrible had happened after a lot of commotion. And they saw firefighters running through the street. All right. So if you want to check that out, there's a lot of coverage of it online. But Chicago had a line of duty death yesterday of a firefighter. It's always tragic to report that. And that gives me a minute. Let's hop down here. The last time we reported on this, there was 18 firefighters that had died in the line of duty. Currently, we are at 26. So we mourn the loss of the Chicago firefighter, David Myers, and in Utah, Corbin Summers. In West Salem, Ohio, Paul McColick, John Robinson of the Lafayette, Indiana Fire Department, Roy Smith from Staunton, Indiana, from the Posey Township, Clay County Volunteer Fire Department, Chevy Gall from Beaufort, Missouri, from the Beaufort Leslie Fire Protection, Gary Moore from Whitewater Fire Protection, and I think we're back to where we started. But currently, we had spoke. There was 18 for 2025. Now we are up to 26 firefighter fatalities in the United States. Looking at the police officers, currently there were 16 the last time we looked at this. Now there are 22. The most recent being Jesse Perez, a deputy sheriff in Dawson County, Texas. And then from down where I'm at, Captain Helio Armando Garcia III from the South Fulton Police Department, Deputy Sheriff Melissa Pollard from the Wood County Sheriff's Department on April 9th, and Deputy William May from Walton County, Florida. Those were the most recent, but we are currently at 22 police officers killed in the line of duty. And then we've also had from canines, there's been some line of duty death. Canine Knox with the Roanoke City Police Department was pursuing a perp when he was struck and killed by a car. It was a police cruiser. That was very tragic. Canine Chico from the Bonern Police Department in Texas. And then Canine Blitz, which was the last one we reported on, with Wadesboro Police Department in North Carolina. So those are the most recent canine line of duty deaths. If you pull it up, line of duty deaths for police officers by state, Texas by far is leading the country, and California not far behind. But if we see the wave of crime in the South is taking the lives of many police officers this year. All right. Ooh, I won't get on my bandwagon about that, but there you go. You have that. Talking about outdoor fires, Israel's had some outdoor fires that are a problem. Of course, it's probably, well, yeah, Israel. Them and the Russian Federation, uh, they are experiencing lots of different things right now. 4.6 earthquake struck today in the United States. Let's take a look at that. All right, so this is going to be another one off the coast of Alaska. It was a 4.6. It occurred today at 15:14. I assume that's universal coordinated time. That's the most recent one. Let's see here. We'll go over to that map in just a second. Pakistan has had some landslides, and Kilauea and the Spur volcanoes in the United States have been active, and so is the Great Sitkin Fire. All right. We talked about that. Talked about that. And I'm just scanning through the event list. In Australia, 700 koalas were killed in a helicopter sniper operation. Now, wait a minute here. What's going on there? I hadn't heard of this. Let's pull this article up. Australia, 700 koalas killed in a helicopter sniper operation. Australian authorities are facing a backlash following the cull in the national park in the Victoria State. Australian authorities are under fire following the culling of hundreds of koalas in the state of Victoria. Around 700 koala bears have been shot by snipers from helicopters flying over Victoria's Bougebim National Park in an act of euthanasia following a devastating brush fire that scorched over 2,000 hectares of habitat. The fire left many koalas injured, dehydrated, without food, prompting the authorities to initiate the cull in early April as means to prevent further suffering. Animal welfare organizations have voiced alarm over the well-being of orphan joeys left behind. Media reported on Tuesday. However, the approach, deploying snipers to shoot the animals from helicopters, has sparked swift and widespread backlash. Activists have raised concerns that decisions were being made by veterinarians and shooters from a distance of up to 30 meters, increasing the risk of mistakenly killing healthy koalas, including mothers still caring for their joeys. The use of aerial shooting should be treated as a last resort, Friends of the Earth Melbourne said in a statement, urging authorities to pause the call and allow independent observers across the site. This is the first time that the koalas have been killed by shooting from a helicopter in Australia, the organization said. Aerial culling of koalas is an Australian first and sets a nasty ethical precedent. The animal protection organization Koala Alliance echoed concerns about vulnerable young joeys potentially being left behind to starve or succumb to exposure if koalas were shot out of trees. This means the joeys would still be left to suffer and die. It's despicable and it's cruel, the group said in a statement on Facebook. The regional government has defended the decision to conduct an aerial cull of koalas, citing expert assessment and veterinarian advice. However, care for calls for an independent review following the culling process have been growing. The activist group is urging a more humane and precise method of wildlife management. Well, that's kind of an odd story. Well, they could get the heat off of themselves by blaming Trump, is what Chris says. That I know in the United States, I have heard of doing this in the Midwest with wolves, but it was because of them being a threat to humans and to livestock. I've never heard of snipers being called in from helicopters post a fire. I know that the United States Forestry Service does have a team that goes in and assesses animals and wildlife that has been in the path of fires and hasn't made it out, but I've never heard of a sniper operation being called. And I can understand the concern for injured koalas, but then again, if the fire is out, why can you not send boots on the ground? I guess it's cheaper, more cost effective, and easier to probably shoot and kill koalas from the air, but that doesn't seem exactly ethical to me. And it apparently is a first time thing. Brenda says, leave the poor little things alone. I agree. Brenda, on your show, you should talk about that. There's got to be a controversy or some kind of conspiracy behind this. I don't understand why you would want to do that. That to me doesn't make a lot of ethical and moral sense, especially I understand the need from having been in fires and forest fires, but that seems to be a bit extreme, especially 700. I don't know the population of koalas in Australia, so don't at me. Maybe there is a need to do this, but it certainly doesn't seem like it's very ethical to me from a stateside firefighter view. But hey, if Radio X in Australia, I know it's early in the morning and you're probably catching this and you probably have more local news on this, and I'm actually going to research this. If you have some information at Sportcat on X, at Sportcat Medic on Facebook, send me some information justifying this or even counter justifying it. Over on Facebook, also, for all of our listeners, we have a group, Sportcat's Daily Gazette. I encourage you to join that group. Any story you hear here, if you want to comment or leave comments on, and if you have a news story you would like us to report, shoot it there. We have a lot of our regulars, Brenda included, Wendell, that are active in the group. So let's stir a conversation. Brenda says she is going to have some friends and she's going to call and find out about this. Brenda, please keep us updated. And if it's a good story or something that needs to be reported, let's talk about it. But I will also research it. 700 koalas killed in a sniper operation in Australia. So I'm sure, I don't know if that's breaking news to them overnight, but that's the first we're hearing of it here in the States. So there you go. And I'll get off my soapbox, but yeah. In Zimbabwe, an elephant collision near Victoria Falls has killed one person, injured 5. Okay. That reminds me, I had a dream overnight of a zonkey and horses crossing a road and one of them partially being struck by a car. Don't know why that had the dream. It was the weirdest thing. I don't ever dream about wildlife in color. It was a zonkey. I don't know. Maybe it means something. If you're a dream expert, let me know. 13 Ghana have perished in a gory accident. All right. Mexico, 11 were killed in a traffic accident. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Turkey, 7 killed, 12 injured in a minibus collision. And let's see. Well, that's your doom gloom of the day. That koala bear story has kind of got me down a little bit. All right. So we talked about the drought conditions. Extreme rainfall. The United States is going to be experiencing that. Hail was a big problem in Oklahoma and parts of Texas yesterday. And of course, we talked about lightning and severe weather. I encourage everybody in the States to have a weather radio. I don't know how it works outside of the States, but you should have a weather radio if you're in the States. A working smoke and carbon monoxide detector. There's a firefighter. I will preach about those things. So. All right. We only got a few minutes left, so we'll talk about some recent earthquakes. The most recent we discussed was in Alaska that's affecting us in the States. We'll jump over here and check out the volcanic activity. The most recent activity in the volcanic area was the Philippine Sea in Taiwan. No, that was an earthquake, 4.6. Where was the volcanic activity? I saw that somewhere. South Pacific Ocean, earthquake 5.3. Oh, I wanted to pull. Can I bring it? Get me back to the. No, don't hide. Show them. Unrest. Volcanoes of these. Okay, you can. Okay, I see what you can do. You can make the whole map. All right, let me zoom out here. Hold on. Let me zoom out here. You can. Why could I not zoom out? All right. Hold on. Let me just refresh this because now it's annoying me. There we go. I can't hide it. Okay. Warning, minor earthquake activity, eruption. There we go. All right. So most recent eruptions. I just hit them. Why did I hide? That's what I want to see. All right. Well, latest earthquakes. All right. I want volcanic activity. Man, this map is going to kill me today. All right. Well, we're running out of time, so I'm not going to be able to go over it as I wanted to. But the most recent volcanic activity, I believe, was Kilauea in Hawaii. But the most recent earthquake activity was in Kodiak, Alaska. That's kind of what I wanted to cover, but it annoys me that I can't. The last eruption was 4 months ago with 3 new notifications. Flood, volcano in Indonesia. The most recent volcanic activity is in Indonesia. All right. Interesting. All right. Let's refresh this. And this is a list of from disasteralert.pdc.org. Come on, come back up. I only got a few minutes, so let's get this real quick. Severe weather, floods, volcanic eruption in Indonesia, landslide, wildfires, storms in Vietnam, wildfire, extreme temperature, extreme heat in Vietnam. And let's just zoom down here. This is what I wanted to do. And zoom in. All right, so wildfires in northwest Australia and high winds. This is updated 5 days ago in Perth and in Seduna. All right, doesn't say anything. They could get a helicopter up. Flooding over on the Gold Coast and a wildfire out in Queensland. All right. It doesn't really finish. That's the extreme heat, I'm assuming. Sorry, guys, I'm talking while I'm looking at the map. Whatever. All right, we'll get off of this. All right, so we'll look at, we'll pull this up real quick because we're about to run out of time. What you're looking at here is from ABS. This shows all the air traffic in the world. And if you look, there's pretty much a city over your head at any point in time. But I like to take all that silly stuff out and get down to, whoa, look at all the military planes today. There's a lot of activity from the military today. There's planes coming from Germany. Many planes are coming from Germany. That's is that Air Force Two? Yeah, it looks like it's coming back. He was over in India, I saw. So yeah, those are probably both. They usually fly 2 at a time. Those are probably Air Force Two. Looks as though they're over the North Atlantic at the moment. But if you look down here, there's a lot of activity in the military today, more so than we have been seeing in the past couple days. It looks like a lot of people are being moved around. I'm trying to see if I see any fighter pilots or anything crazy going on. Just a lot of transports. What was that there? It's a helicopter, Blackhawks. I'm trying to see. They had the P-38s out yesterday looking on the Atlantic. And yeah, a lot of transports. I don't see anything kind of crazy besides there is a lot of movement today. So it's a tanker. Maybe he's going to relieve somebody. He hasn't really gotten a pattern. I don't see any, I don't see, you can go and look and actually see some of the flights where they show the actual path, but it doesn't look like there's anything too crazy. That's probably, okay, they've taken off the air. They don't want you to know what that one is coming out of Baltimore. All right. And yeah, these are just transports, people and equipment. Who is that? United Kingdom, the Royal Air Force. What are they doing flying out of Atlanta? Interesting. Royal Air Force coming out of Atlanta, and it's one of their transport planes. So, what is the Royal? No, it's not actually Atlanta. Warner Robins, south of Atlanta. What is the Royal Air Force, the UK, doing coming out of there? Interesting. All right. All right, so we got that. We don't have time really today to cover any of the different warnings or operations. We see the normal ones in DC. You got the VIP ones. Where is that? Is that DC? Have zoomed out too far. Yeah, that's DC. Now that's DC. VIP's up around here. Wonder what's going on. Oh, he's going. No, this is New Jersey. There's a VIP coming. Oh, maybe it's for Air Force Two coming in to take on fuel. Maybe, I don't know. The space operations down off the coast, and then we have secure. That's for air sporting event. Nothing crazy looking there. Look at this. Bahamas and Turks, nothing's interesting. I'm just kind of going real quick, guys. Sorry if I see anything, it jumps out at me. What is that down in New Mexico? Um, well, White Sands Missile has got a restriction on their airspace today, so they must be doing some Texas down testing down around El Paso. They have flight restrictions up for national security. All right, you can find all this at the FAA and at Sky Vector if you're interested. Look real quick at the shipping. Not a whole lot of movement going on, but there are a lot of ships out there. Supposedly, a lot of empty tankers are coming to us. I don't really have time today to cover the um, breaking news from the map point from Live USA Map. You can go check it out and see if there's anything near you. This is kind of updated regularly. And then there's the New England Fire Net. Why are there's not showing any activity? I know better than that. What's down here in Texas? Dallas, Texas, 2611 on a commercial fire in a building. That was pretty big. That was earlier today. Up in Ohio, we have a working house fire. See if I see anything kind of odd. What is this? This is over in an MVA in Cranston, Rhode Island, with multiple injuries. They've requested 4 ambulances. So, all right. We'll look at the low Earth, the satellites. This one I recommend you go check out. It's from leolabspace.org. I'm sorry, .visualization. You can check out what is exactly over your head satellite wise. It's kind of cool. I don't know if they show the secret squirrel ones, but you can even zoom down to almost your community and see if there's anything overhead. Look at the balloons and see. Well, there's quite a few balloons active today. You can go to Sondhub, sondhub.org, and check that out if you want to. I'm going to turn over Radio X and Jurg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, back to them because David Breckmeyer is coming up next, and you can check out his show. Everybody that wants to, come over to YouTube and find us, the Para Are Normal Guys, on YouTube. Para Are Normal, 3 different words, guys spelled with a Z. Please come over and like, follow, share, and subscribe. We're trying to get monetized, so I need just a few more to get there. Until tomorrow, everybody, in Radio X in Australia and Jurg's Radio, have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Now back to regular programming and David Breckmeyer. All right, so we're no longer live on Radio X. And Wendell says, wonders why there's not any videos of the volcanoes. I don't know, Wendell. Real quick, we're just going to wrap it up here. If you go to look at, there's plenty of weather balloons, but that one in the Atlantic is still not showing up. They're showing a location of it taking off in Bermuda, but they're not showing any activity. But supposedly there has been one out off of the Atlantic Sea at about 70 to 80,000 feet. This one comes out of Cape Canaveral. It's got an interesting little flight pattern, how it goes out and comes back in. So it's obviously got something that is controlling a little bit more. Ooh, it is currently at 107,000 feet. Wow, it's up there. So it is off of the coast of Cape Canaveral. Maybe that's the one. Wow, that is up there, 107,000 feet. That's almost space. But yeah, it's out there doing something, getting weather information, collecting data. What you have to realize is once they're at that altitude, I mean, it can pick up a data from a large area of stuff. They can capture a lot of data from that is up there. So that's the highest I think we've seen, isn't it? I don't recall seeing one any higher. I mean, like this one is at 1,600,000 feet. This one is at 31,000 feet. These are floating out off in the middle of the country. I'm sorry, up along Huntsville, up in that area. Don't see any in the south. That is really up there. That is impressive. We have this one that came out of Baltimore. It's currently at 80,000 feet, traveling to the north. I'm sorry, yeah, traveling to the south east. It's currently up over, almost over Delaware, and it's at 81,000 feet. That's getting a lot of data, a lot of weather information. All right, that one's relatively low. It was a maximum altitude of 5,000, but it's coming down. So it's probably, if anybody wants to catch it, it's in Deer Island Wildlife Management. So that's impressive. 100,000 square feet. Wow. Or 100,000 altitude. Wow. All right. This one, it had an axe. It's at 32,000 feet up along the northern border coming out of Grand Forks. All right. We'll wrap that up real quick. The space station is currently down off the tip of Africa, if you're interested in that. And bird migration the past 24 hours, well, there's been about 19 million birds as they've come from the north and the east headed to the deep north. All right. And I'll leave you here. This is the cyber threat awareness at bitdefender.com. You can see currently all the attacks are in red, infections are in yellow, and as usual, we're just getting salt and peppered with cyber attacks. I read an article earlier this week talking about the FBI saying that if you do not reset your phone or your router daily, you're opening yourself up to some kind of attack. So think about that. I don't know. I don't reset my phone daily or the router. So, all right, guys and gals, I appreciate everybody. Brenda, Wendell, Denise, I know I'm leaving Chris. I appreciate all of you in the chat. I appreciate if you hit that thumbs up button. Come back tomorrow and check us out. If you didn't get a chance to see our show last night, go check it out. It's always going to be on YouTube. Great show last night where we had the two comic book authors. They were great. Also, if anyone's interested, I have a newly designed No One Rocks Alone Sportcat thin line rock station morale patch flag, and it's thin blue line, thin red line, thin yellow line, thin orange line. Got them all covered there for suicide awareness. If you're interested, hit me up. I'll get you one of those. They are brand new. Unless anybody has any questions, I'm going to get out of here. I think we wrap it up almost on time today. So we did pretty good. So, all right. Well, everybody have a great day. I will see you tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to me BS for the past 2 hours. I will catch you tomorrow. If you get any information on the koala bears, let me know. I'm curious about that story. Everybody have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.